Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the stitch and flip method that we talked about the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to show you some other things you can do with that same method. Here's a piece, and I've just cut a square that is the same width as that, and then drawn a line on it, and then I've sewn this one on, and then after I sew it, I'm just going to press it back. And just do it on one side, and then if you sew these together, two of these together, you get this cute little thing and unit, and then you sew these together and it makes what is called a Kansas dugout block. So it's the same idea, you just draw the diagonal line, stitch on the line or just barely off the line towards the corner, flip it back, trim it, and then you can sew them together and make a fun block with that. That's idea number one. Idea number two is just like we talked about the other day on the square in a square. And instead of sewing on opposite sides, I just sewed this one on one side, and then I've sewn this one on this corner, and I will trim it and press it back. And so I just do the two sides. Now let me show you some things you can do with this. This quilt right here has this block, and that's how this has been done right here. And so you just do the two sides that are together. And so that makes a fun block. And also this right here, this fence, the top of the fence is done the same way. So it's a great big long rectangle piece, and then just stitch the one side on, flip it back, and stitch this one on and flip it back. And that's how the fence is done. Now here's a way you can do your sashing, a fun idea for sashing. If you take and do the same thing I just did, do the one side, flip it back, then stitch the other side like on a square in a square, only you just do the two sides, and then do the other two sides, and this can be used as your piece of sashing. And I've only done this on one of the pieces just for demonstrations. I didn't do the others, but I would do it on both sides of all of these sashing pieces. And then I would put it together and then put my cornerstone, and these would be where your blocks would be. And then it makes a star in the corner of your blocks. And then this would make another star on each where your blocks come together. So that's the very same as the square in a square when you do your measurements, but you just do the two sides again. This one's a little bit different because I've just taken two, and the measurements are the same as the double half square triangle, because I have one rectangle. This was a rectangle to begin with, and then two squares, and I've already cut and trimmed that one. But this one I've just sewn, you can see, and then I'm going to trim this off and then flip it back, and that makes what I've done here on these leaves for these flowers. That's how I did these leaves here. And these are just snowball blocks, and we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So these are all done with the stitch and flip method. This is one more idea, and these are some hearts that I've been making, and I have a rectangle, and I just took two squares, marked my diagonal lines, stitched just off the line towards the corner, and then I will trim them and press them back. So this is like part of a snowball. On the snowball you do all four corners, but on this one I just did the two, and then I will put this here, and this will be the corner, and that will make my heart. You can see that I've done that right here, and that's how I did that. So there's all kinds of fun things you can do with the stitch and flip method. So I hope you try some of them, and I hope that you are inventive and do your own thing. See you next week.